guys.
Hello.
Welcome back to another episode of Living Beyond Limits, where we wind down
And
level up together. I had to take a little sippy sip of wine.
You need that.
Okay, so today we have a brand new episode, and this time we are going to talk about the topic that was highly requested from everybody. Everybody wants to know what it feels like to date, having a disability, and I think it is a great topic. It can be a learning lesson for some. It could be, an episode where people feel similar to how we feel about it, maybe, and maybe some people, can learn something new. So we'll begin.
Yeah.
Charlene?
So I'm gonna share some helpful tips about dating someone with a disability, and as I share them, we will talk about our opinions and our experiences in between.
Yeah.
Okay, so one helpful tip is treat us normal. Please don't get weird.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think that's a big one. And I do understand why some people will get weird because it is uncomfortable, especially if you are not someone who is often around people with disabilities. It can be a brand new experience. So we do understand the awkwardness, but we don't want people to get weird because it makes us feel uncomfortable.
Yes. And we already go into the situation very hyper aware.
Very, right.
So I would say it's better to ask.
Yes, always.
Right? If you have a question, a concern, a worry, it's better to say, hey, this came in my mind. What do you think about it? How can I help you with this? Or
exactly.
Not help
you. Exactly.
Okay. Another helpful tip is realize and own your able-bodied privilege.
That is also a big one.
That's a huge one.
I know a lot of able-bodied people. So I think being around everyone, it may not be a thing to often be aware of because for you, it's normalized, right? You guys go throughout your everyday life just doing what you have to do. But the reason why we want you to be more aware of it is because the things that you are doing is so, it has to be appreciated. There's some things that people can do that you can, and it could be as simple as lifting something up. For you, it's probably 1, 2, 3. For someone, it's a little bit of a struggle. But I think because it's so small, we don't recognize it as something so big. Charlene?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I think no matter how aware you are, how accepting you are, how you come alongside us and join us in the fight, we would say, you are still gonna have privileges that we don't, and it's okay. In my personal opinion, I don't want somebody to be like, oh, okay, let's just think about what you need, and I'm here, and my feelings don't matter. I want a balance. I want you to say, hey, I noticed that I can do this, and you can't. Or I noticed the world is like this for me, and it's not for you. I'd rather the conversation. I mean, my boyfriend is a great person, but he still gets privileges in terms of ableism that I don't get. And I like to talk about it
all the time. I mean, it's just something for you to recognize that you are just more aware of being around people like us, and just acknowledging that for someone who has a disability, we may need a little bit of help here and there, but we're doing well. We're trying, and we just want you to, be aware of it and acknowledge it. Oh, the next one.
I like this one. Show active engagement in disability rights and awareness.
Yeah. I think this is something new for me. I feel like since 2019, or me thinking about different things that I want to do in terms of advocating for people with disabilities, I've been more open to seeing what's out there, what type of organizations out there. Maybe if you guys want to do a walk or something, starting Living Beyond Limits, what that means for us and other people, the resources that are out there. I think that's been a big change for me, and I'm glad that I'm able to do it for others. But it means the world when someone that doesn't have a disability shows up to things like these, at least for me, because I know that you guys are in support of the things that we do and how we live our lives and how we want the world to see us, not just someone with difficulties and challenges, but someone who is thriving past that. So it's been a really good thing to do.
I definitely agree. I mean, I kind of consider it like anything in dating, right?
Yeah.
When you come into dating someone and you know that they have a passion, or they have a moral, or they have a belief, or something like that, it just shows support.
Yeah.
And I think that's needed in a relationship.
Of course. Your partner should always support you. Always. And encourage you to do more.
And I think for me, it allows me to feel safer to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
If you want to know, if you're like, hey, babe, explain this to me, or let me do this with you. Then when I'm having a hard day or I need help with something, I'm like, he's really in my corner. So I can be vulnerable because he really does care. He's genuine.
Of course. Yeah.
All right. Another one is trust us to tell you what is good for us and what we need.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
Sure. I definitely, this one kind of resonates with me.
Yeah.
So a lot of you know that I have a boyfriend. You haven't met him yet. You will probably in part 2 of this discussion. But one reason I chose to date him is because he respects a lot of like listening to me and always checking in with me and saying, hey baby, you need help with this? Or hey baby, you want me to let you do that by yourself? Like it's always a conversation. It's never an assumption.
Yeah.
And even if he wants to help me, even if he helps me and then time goes by, he always wants to know, was that okay? Was that okay that I helped you? And I think that type of communication is necessary in every relationship, but especially when you're dating someone with a disability. Because for me, there are times where I'm very, like I think a lot about my disability, and it's always on my mind, and I always want to be able to show myself as capable. But at the same time, I want somebody to say, hey, I notice you're struggling with that. Let me help you. And at the same time, he is a person to be like, babe, I know you could do that. Like, I know you're asking for my help, but, how about we do it together? How about you do this part and I'll help you with that part?
Yeah.
So just the balance of like knowing when to ask if I can help, if he can help, and knowing when to step back and let me try.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a thing. I feel like, I think for me, like, I'm always expecting people to ask me like, "Hey, Sharice, what do you need?" Or, just asking me. But I feel like people have come to learn like the level of independency that I have, and people often say, "Well, I didn't ask you because you didn't ask me if you needed anything." So I think for people that have told me like, it can go both ways. I don't necessarily have to maybe always ask you. I mean, you don't always have to tell me if you need something, or I don't have to always ask you. But if there's some things that you do need, know that you can ask me. Know that like I will always be there to help. I'm trying to learn how to ask for more help because I'm more of a try first. If I can't do it, then I'm gonna ask you. Just because I feel like I need to attempt it so that if that partner or that person isn't there, I know that I can do it on my own if they are not there. But I do like it when someone does offer me the help. I've definitely been in situations where if I'm dating, there's certain things that people have done automatically, and there's some things that people just like, maybe I don't want to ask her because I don't want to offend her, so let's see if she does it first, and if she needs it, she'll just ask me. So it goes both ways. I think we should definitely verbalize what we need. And then for the partners, just, always know that maybe if you're afraid to ask, don't be afraid. Like, if they're your partner, they'll understand why you're asking. Just ask.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, and it's okay if we say, oh, nobody, I got it. Like, don't take that as offense,
It's not.
But okay, I'm here if you need me,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a little bit of balance. Okay, so 2 more. I know people ask about this a lot, so we're gonna lightly mention it. Your sex life is gonna be fine.
Very much
and
okay.
it's probably gonna be amazing. And I mean, we definitely want to respect our partners and our future partners.
Of course.
So we're not gonna like share too many details.
No.
But we can talk about it in generally.
Of course. I think when it comes to the topic of sex and being disabled, it's about communication. I feel like that's with anybody's sex life. If you feel like there's certain things that maybe your partner needs to be more mindful of, tell them. If you feel like maybe something didn't go right, tell them. Like, it's just about having the conversations about what you feel comfortable with, what you don't feel comfortable with. But I think anyone can have a normal sex life, or I don't like to use the word normal, but just a regular sex life. It just may look different for people like us, and that's okay.
Yeah, and as long as you have a partner that communicates with you,
that's it,
and that is willing to explore different things,
of course,
your sex life will be amazing.
Yeah.
I would say, one piece of advice I could give for a person who has a disability and is exploring a sexual relationship with someone who doesn't have a disability, listen to your body.
Yeah. That's a big
one. Listen to your body.
That is a big one.
It's I think, especially in a relationship, it's important to know who you are physically and what you can do and your limits, and be okay voicing that.
Yeah.
The more you are aware of your body, your physical body, and you can voice that and can support, sex will be amazing because you'll be able to work through it.
Of course.
I mean, you won't feel as sex makes anyone feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
But you won't feel as vulnerable because you know that your partner is listening and supporting you.
Of course. I think, and I definitely understand that, because, like, I've definitely been in situations where I felt like I didn't want to verbalize if my body was feeling uncomfortable, because I felt like it would make the person not want to have sex with me. But I feel like when you find that person that's willing to understand and not wanting to see you in pain, I mean, it's not fair to you, but if they're understanding of it, they're willing to be like, okay, let's try something else. There's things you can definitely try to make it more comfortable. Just a quick side note, I even found somebody on Instagram that creates sexual things for people with disabilities to make sex a lot more comfortable with people with disabilities. She has like cushions, like extra pelvic help that can make you sit up better, or sexual toys that you could use. Like, there's a whole, if I find it, I will put it in the description box, but somebody shared that with me. I think that's pretty cool. She has a disability herself, so she decided to create that company for people like us. So your sexual life can be as normal as anybody else's.
Yeah.
It's just, again, it's communication, and it's just a little different. Just, it's a little razzle dazzle, But
and it's very possible. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there like, oh, I've never tried it, but it's very possible.
Yeah.
It's very possible to find a partner that is willing to explore things.
And we just like everybody else. I sit with my other disabled friends and we be talking about our sex life like like no tomorrow, So it's a very just normal thing. It's just I understand why people are curious. Yeah.
And finally, this was interesting to us: how to break up with someone. I mean, I think we all struggle with that, disability or not. We often say, "Oh, the breakup was so horrible." I think the advice I'm going to give is across the board, disability or not. I would say break up with the person in the most respectful way you can. Remember that at one time you care for this person at one time. You were building a life with this person, and yes, for whatever reason, it didn't turn out that way. But they're still a person, and you still had experiences with them. You know, so I would say just be as respectful as possible, be as upfront and direct as possible. And just make the best decision for yourself. It doesn't make sense to go, oh, you did this, you didn't do that. Like, we passed that point. Right?
And it just leads into a whole bunch of back and forth.
Exactly. So say just, as for me, I've come to the place where, you know, I can no longer, unfortunately, pursue this relationship and leave it at that. It's, you know, I would say quick point to the, you know, short to the point.
Not all breakups are horrible. That's something that I feel like I've come to learn, because I used to think if people were breaking up, it was something so negative. But it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it's just things that don't work out. And I think maybe we brought up this point because it just feels like maybe sometimes you feel like if you are in a relationship with a disabled person, or if it's vice versa where your partner is an able-bodied person, you feel like, well, damn, like they stuck it out with me, you know, while I had a disability. Why should I break up with them? Because they've been there. But sometimes it's just there's so many things that contribute into a relationship that can be missing. And so if after that conversation that you have, you still feel like it's not working out, then it's just, maybe it's just not meant to be. And you can always find a partner that can give you what you had and more.
Yes. And remember, like, you know, I think when I was younger, I felt like my disability was like a stain. And I do want to say that, disability or not, you always deserve respect. You always deserve someone to choose you. You always deserve someone to, like, be vulnerable with you. Right? So no matter disability or not, that you deserve to find that person. You know,
communication is key. I know it's cliche, but literally, like, it's talk. Because sometimes people don't know that you're in pain emotionally about something unless you say something. Because as human beings, we're so good at hiding emotions. It's not always written on our faces. So talk. And
it's very possible. Like, I've been in relationships that were emotionally, mentally abusive. And I really had that thought, like, but this person stuck it out with me. You know, I felt like this person chose me. But now, years later, when I'm in a very healthy relationship, I can see, like, I thought back then that I was being chosen, but I wasn't. It's a whole different feeling. It's a whole different place to be like, wow, this person sees me. Disability and all, and he's not trying to change me. And I feel like everyone, especially with a disability, deserves to experience that.
Of course. Love feels good, guys. It's not a chosen thing for, like, specific people. It's just, and I feel like in general, like, even though, like, we're talking about it because people may feel like it's hard for us to get partners, it's hard for anybody to get a partner.
Especially nowadays.
It's very hard. Like, I tell you guys, like, most of my friends are all able-bodied people, and the same struggles I be coming to them with, they tell me the same thing. They're struggling. So it's not, I don't think, like, it's different a little bit for me because I have an extra factor to consider, but we all speak about the same things. We all speak about respect. We all speak about communication. We all speak about being emotionally available versus being non-emotionally available, you know? Like, it's just, that's all that encompasses a relationship at the end of the day. That's all. So we have a couple of questions to kind of continue the conversation a little bit. These are some questions that maybe we've heard before from people, or we feel like people should know about. So the first one is, how do you find someone that is willing to accept you? So
is that good to me? Okay, sure. So
I gear a lot of the questions to her because she got her boo. You know?
How did I find someone that accepted me? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Honestly, I know it started with me.
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask me about how was my dating life when I was in my teens, when I was in my 20s, I really focused on other people.
Yeah.
Right? What would this man want from me?
Right.
Now in my 30s, I believe the reason why I was able to choose someone. He's not perfect, but he's pretty darn good.
Yes.
Choose someone that could see me and love me genuinely is because before that I took years to work on myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn who I was, my morals, what I deserve.
Yeah.
Right? Before I consider what my partner deserves. And when you know yourself and when you accept yourself and love yourself, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. Please don't be put in the comments. You're like the only perfect person I know. No, because I'm not.
Yeah.
But what I do is I intentionally put work into myself to daily learn to accept myself and love myself. And because of that, I really do believe that I open myself to attract someone that is very respectful and loving and present. So that's what I think helped me.
I'm currently dating, and I wouldn't say like I want to find a future partner for myself, but I've learned to become okay that it's not happening for me right now. But I'm on that journey to finding someone who's willing to accept me, and the way that I do that, I ask a lot of questions during dates. It can come off as I've been told it can come off like a lot, so I learned to like dial it down a little bit. But I think I get nervous because I want people to know that this is not something that just happened to me like last year, or I didn't get into an accident. This has been my whole life, and it's not changing. It's I find ways to get better, by doing things around the house, exercising, physical therapy, all that stuff. But it's not changing. And I found that while I've been dating in my 20s, one of the prominent thing I've realized is that I was going on dates that with people who were trying to change that. Like, how can we figure out how you're gonna get better, right? Is there a solution? Is there a cure? And I found that like during the date they were asking me that, and it's like, but why are you so focused on that? Right? Like, why can't you just learn to live with the fact that we're here, like the present time, And so I realized with responses like that, they weren't going to accept me. They weren't. And so I had to learn to filter out people who are willing to try. Like, you don't necessarily have to think about the future with me, but what do you do for me now that shows me that later in life, like, this could be really good for us? So I have people who still want to go dancing with me, like find ways to have fun, right? They tell me how much they appreciate me or acknowledge the work that I do, or they ask me a lot of big questions about how I got here, what I do, what do I do to make myself a lot stronger, to be able to get independency, how they can help me, right? Or different things they can do to help me. Because just because I'm asking you for help doesn't mean you have to like be there 24/7. I know that can scare a lot of people, but it's just a lot of small things you can show a person that can really show them that they acknowledge the disability that you have, because I think that's a big thing. I don't like it when people say that I don't look at you like you have a disability, because I think it still needs to be acknowledged. Like, I get what you're trying to say, because you don't want me to be seen as someone that is incapable, but at the same time it does need to be acknowledged, because if something happens, you know how to be there for me. I can show you, things like that. But like Charlene says, it does really come from building that self-confidence and really knowing who you are and what you deserve. And that's how I've learned to really figure out from what people tell me and how they communicate to me, like, this may not work out because I know what I deserve. Because I've seen people be so kind to me, so appreciative, and acknowledge the type of person that I am, even away from my disability, that allows them to want to continue to be around me and being in my life. And seeing that, I won't allow men to treat me with disrespect or try to change something about me. So that's been a really big thing. I am also not perfect, so please. But I definitely have seen the work that I've put in and the work that I continue to put in myself. And, Charlene is, I always say that, Charlene's a really big help with that. Like, I come to her, she teaches me through the stories that she have told me throughout her life, and like what she does. I can take that into consideration and really learn what I have to do. But yeah, being on that journey still, I know what I can be looking for in a man and in a partner, and I hope that one day it comes to me, because I really do want to love on someone. But yeah, I think that all encompasses on finding someone who's willing to accept you, and that's a really important thing, because we don't want nobody that's not going to accept us. The next question: what are some difficulties you have encountered while dating?
I think you mentioned a lot of them.
Yeah. Communication was a big one for me. That happened a lot. Sometimes people didn't really share how they felt. Then you find out a lot later through either an argument or something that happens, and then it triggers something, and then we're arguing about it. So maybe some other difficulties is, I will say, like the outside world interfering on how people feel about dating someone that is disabled. So you may get someone that says something disrespectful. You may get someone that stares at you. You may get someone that doesn't really. It's not a positive outlook on what that looks like, and I think it affects how people will see me in comparison to being in private spaces, because you don't have anybody like judging the environment or you or the person. So I think those are some of the two things. Charlene, do you have any
I definitely have to agree. I think right now, me and my boyfriend have been in a relationship for I've known him for 13 years, but this time around, we've been in a relationship for about 2 years now, almost 2 years. And I think the difficulty in the relationship is not even between me and him.
Yeah.
Because, we do have our little spats and our little things that we are trying to compromise on, and that's normal. I think, and it has to happen. I think if every relationship is unicorns and roses, there's something wrong. But outside of my interaction with him, I think the hardest has been, like you said, the people around us. Yeah. So I have a lot of people in my life that have been there for a long time. From like teenage or younger up till now. Yeah. And they often still perceive me, whether consciously or unconsciously, as the person in my teens who allowed emotional abuse and verbal, that kind of things. And the defense that I have to give to that about, like, I'm not that person. I understand what your concern was at that time, but that doesn't have to be your concern. Yeah. Right now, I find myself having to have a lot of those questions or have a lot of those conversations. Yeah. And then it's, I think people already make an assumption. Does this person really choose you? I honestly don't think that has anything to do with Matthew. That's my boyfriend's name. I really think that has to do with the anxiety or the worry of the person in my life. Your hang-ups with disability, your judgments about disability, right? And that's what I often see myself defending. Just because person X has a judgment about, can someone really choose a person with a disability.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it took me 35 years, right, to find someone who really chooses me genuinely. Even when he's pissed at me, you can see how we interact. It's very like, let's fix this, babe. We're not gonna leave this, because he genuinely chooses me, and I put all that work in. 36 years, and I'm not perfect. I got a long way to go, but I damn near put 36 years of work into being a person that can find that. And I feel like that should be respected.
Of course.
Like, oh, yes, I tell Sharice all the time, bring me your concerns, please. Always. I never turn a concern away. But after I've addressed the concern with you, then you have to, and not saying she doesn't, because she does an amazing job. Other people, I feel like they should respect that I've talked about it. I've heard your concern. I'm praying about it. We're working on it. But in terms of like abuse and emotional abuse, that's not happening, because I'm not that person. Maybe when you're a teen, you know, but I'm not that person anymore.
I think people have found difficulty in being able to see growth in a person just because your disability is a factor. And that's not, if I don't grow, how do I get any better? And I think I feel like people see it like that because it's like, oh, this disability must be so detrimental to your life, but it doesn't have to be. Like, it really doesn't have to be. It's just, we just figure out life the way that it goes, just like everybody else. Everybody is growing, whether disability or not. But I think we get looked at in a different light because it's like, oh, she'll never grow from this. She'll never be able to do what we can do. And that is not true.
Not true.
It's not
I
true.
feel like people, they connect disability, like a physical disability, with an emotional struggle. Or like, is that a fair word? Like, I don't have like the emotional understanding or the confidence.
It has a big impact on your mental health and your emotional like well-being. And we're not saying that it does not, but with the type of disability we have, you literally grow through it. You're a baby, you're a teenager, and you become an adult, and you still have that disability. So we have to do nothing but learn how to grow. Exactly. But learn how to advance, but learn how to, keep going. Because at that point, then you're just saying, well, then you don't want to exist. If you're saying that we are incapable of doing that, then you're just saying we don't want to exist, we don't want to live, we should just leave it like that. That's it. We're stuck like this forever. That is not the case, right? So you have to allow us, like, I feel like people should give us more credit for the work that we put in ourselves and know that we are capable of making great decisions for ourselves. Like, if I thought Charlene couldn't make great decisions, I wouldn't allow her to be a mentor or someone that I look up to in my life, because I'm like, then if she can't do it, then I can't do it. Then what's the point? Because you have to be always learning. If you stay stuck in one place, there's no point, right? So I think people need to open up their minds to the fact that change is possible and that we're not always going to stay in that same place of like pity, right? Or like feeling sorry for ourselves.
Exactly. Or like low self-esteem.
And Charlene has always proven to put in the work. I don't know what people are saying, but she has always done so many different things to change her mindset in so many different ways. I feel like maybe sometimes there are people in her life that have not always been there step by step to see it, but you can definitely see the difference in conversation. And if you still don't trust that, maybe it's just that you're stuck back to when she was younger. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question: what are the things we can't do together as a partner?
Oh, like a relationship? That's a great question. You want me to answer first? Okay. So I guess because part 2 he will finally see his face.
Yeah.
So tune in, invite 100 people because I know everybody wants to see his face. My boyfriend is one reason why I do love him is because he is very like we'll find a way, right? But there are certain things that we have to pause and reflect on before. Mm-hmm. Maybe someone without a disability is like, oh, let's go dancing. Okay, that's something we can just do without preparing for. Mm-hmm. Or let's jump off a cliff together. That's something. So anything physical, like skydiving. Yeah. What's that one? Ziplining. Even though I've done ziplining, it did take some time, but I did ziplining. Yeah. It takes a little more preparation and more accommodation, more accommodations. Yeah. I mean, is there anything that we haven't been able to do in the 2 years? I think maybe keeping an open mind about it, but like she said, it does take an extra bit of planning. Like if you're disabled and you want to go bungee jumping, you can. Like I've seen more and more equipment being made for people with disabilities to allow like doing adventurous stuff during traveling. Like there's a couple that I follow and they always find him like an accessible equipment to be able to do it. But it's really up to you. Like are you willing to do it? Go ahead. There's always a way.
But there's always a conversation you have to have. Like we can't just
beforehand.
Babe, let's go bungee jumping tomorrow. Like that it don't work like
that.
Or
hiking.
So
that's one thing.
I've been hiking, but I was very tired.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. And I know it's something he wants to do because he's all into exercise.
Hiking is really good.
But like it's something we have to plan for.
Right.
We haven't done dancing. It's something he wants to do. Yeah. So it's something we plan for. I'm not saying I won't get on the dance floor. Yeah. But me personally, I might feel a little uncomfortable. Yeah. But I'm a person that will try. Yeah. So we're talking about what do I need an accommodation or am I willing to do it? Like am I willing to try? That's two different conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's good, and I say this very gently because we're doing a lot of work on ourselves. Yeah. But if you're someone who is younger in your teens and really just starting this journey of self discovery and self acceptance, it might take you a while to be okay. I'll go on the dance floor, you know, and that's okay. I think it's okay to say, okay, I'm open to trying that, but not right now.
Yes. Exactly.
Especially if emotionally it makes you a little uncomfortable.
Of course. For me, I do try things, but I'm always hesitant, and it's always another person that be like, "No, girl, let's go do it." Yeah. So I've done hiking. I just don't hike the whole trail. Right? I hike to the point where I'm like, "All right, guys, I think I'm getting a little tired. Let's turn back around." That's just how it's gonna be. Because my stamina is not of the same as someone who is able-bodied and has the energy, that I don't have. Dancing, I've been dancing with my beautiful friend Allison. I was skeptical about dancing because it's not just like regular dancing. Like it's like learning a choreographed dance. We went bachata dancing, and it was really cool. But I also was hesitant. Like when she brought it up to me, I was like, in my head, I didn't say that out loud to her, but in my head, I was like, girl, like, how am I supposed to do bachata? Like, I dance, but I dance my little 2-step to the music at home or with my family parties or my friends, but I don't do a choreographic dance because my body I don't feel like it's fast enough to get the steps. And I was very nervous. And she was like, no, girl, come on, let's go do it. And I love people like that. And that's what I also look for in a partner. Like, I want you to encourage me. I don't want you to be like, oh, she can't do it, so we not going. Yes. Like, you got to give me the chance to, like, think about it first. If I say, like, okay, I definitely don't feel comfortable, then we don't have to go. But the fact that you are giving me that decision or having the open conversation about it, I love that. Yes. So I do really appreciate my friend Allison for that because
we love her.
It really warmed my heart.
She's like the bestie.
So that was the first time I experienced something like that. Other adventurous things, honestly, it's just because I'm a scaredy cat. Like I'm not gonna go zip lining.
Yes, you are. If I did it,
she want me to do it. She
and what
did.
you're gonna do too is parasailing because
See,
I did that.
I don't do because like I'm afraid of heights.
You're fine.
Like even with roller coasters, I've been on a bunch, but it's because I get forced to go. So I don't want to go.
Me and Allison already.
She sent me an SNC. So like you see people like that will encourage me to go, then I'll try it. But those other things have honestly just came like a fear thing. But I'm definitely like I'm always willing to try. Like I travel, I've had great times, but it just takes more preparation. We need some time to talk about it first, and then we get there. So I definitely do appreciate people who try to encourage me to try. And our last question is, actually, this is similar to what we talked about earlier. Are you ready for the staring from the public when we are out? This is a big one for some of the friends that I've spoken to with disabilities too. I have one friend who has been in like long-term relationships. I think she has a fiance now, but she was in a relationship prior, and she would tell me like, she would notice the difference between when they were at home doing like an at-home date or like a private date in comparison like going for walks or going somewhere outdoors, and he felt uncomfortable. I definitely understand that too. I've definitely been on dates where a person that I'm on a date with, it does feel uncomfortable based on people who are staring at me. I was just telling Charlie, I don't even be noticing people staring at me sometimes. Like you do see it, but like you're so used to it as a disabled person that you're just like trying to get to where you're going. Like I don't be paying attention to like, seeing that person over there. Like there have been times even my friends will be like, yo, I didn't like how that girl was staring at you, and I'm like, who? I didn't see them, like, so I think it's definitely, again, communication. Another thing you have to talk about, if you know the partner that is not disabled, is feeling uncomfortable with something like that and it's getting you to an angry state, you should be talking about it with your disabled partner.
Yes, 100%.
Maybe figure out how you can deal with it better, because most of the time, I'm not gonna lie, we're not gonna care about the stares.
I don't even
we don't notice it, and maybe it's because we've had years of like dealing with it. I will say it's a little bit different for people maybe who are new to the disabled community, but I don't notice the stares. Charlene has told me she don't notice the stare. So it's just a conversation you have to have. Let us know that you are feeling uncomfortable, because there have definitely like been a time where that person didn't let me know they were uncomfortable, and then it ends into a big fight, and then we end things. So
I mean, I definitely have had both experiences. So I've been in situationships where the person kind of was very uncomfortable. So we didn't do much outside. Everything we did was inside, and I didn't really challenge that because I wasn't in the place.
Sometimes you don't even notice.
Yeah.
It'll be like, oh, babe, it's cold outside. Let's stay inside.
Yeah, and I don't think I noticed really. I mean, in hindsight, I can mention multiple times, But back then, I was not thinking about it.
Yeah.
Now in my relationship, I would say my advice would be a good characteristic of somebody who's dating someone with a disability.
Like, you gotta really
is to have a thick skin.
Yes.
Nothing bothers. I mean, to the point where it annoys me sometimes. But nothing bothers my partner.
That's true.
Is like he's gonna live his life and he's gonna love who he wants to love, and if other people don't like it, well then that's their issue.
Yeah.
And that really sometimes in situations it does cause a back and forth conversation, but in the situation with me having a disability, it really does help.
Yeah.
He really is like, just let's go. If you want to do that, let's go and have fun.
Yeah.
And he doesn't notice it. The only time he steps in is if somebody is disrespectful to me.
Of course.
Then he steps in. But other than that, just stares, he doesn't.
No.
I mean, he loves PDA, like he's all.
Yeah.
So I mean,
emphasis on the thick skin. Yeah, that's very important.
Thick skin, like you
have
someone who is like,
because the stares are gonna come, like it's gonna happen. I've had that conversation with a lot of people I went on dates on. Like it's gonna happen because people are curious. You know, people are wondering like, who's that? What does she have? What's going on? And not every stare is disrespectful. It's out of curiosity, and I think that's something that I had to learn myself so that I wouldn't get insecure about people staring at me. Like, it's not them making fun of you or teasing you; they're just curious. But yeah, dating someone with a disability, thick skin
really helps.
It does, because there's gonna be a lot of things you can encounter. Okay, well, that was all the questions we had and all the thoughts that we had. If you guys want a part 2 to the dating episode, we are more than happy to bring it. I know Charlene, would like to bring Matthew.
Yeah.
So maybe we could get some questions about that.
Yeah, please comment below any questions you have for him. He's really open about most things.
Yeah.
In the relationship with us. So comment below. Let's get this video to, give me a number.
I'm going to say, we've been doing really good with the likes. So I'm going to say, let's try for 50. Because that's the highest I've seen is like 40.
Okay, 50 likes.
So 50
if
likes.
If we get it to 50 likes and share. So if you like it, you have to share it.
Share. Yes, please.
Okay. If we get 50 likes and 50 shares, then he will be on in part 2.
Yes. And okay, that's it. And we will see you on our next episode.
Remember to wind down
and level up. Right, bye, guys. Time.